comes through the news about us as a people, that to me was very encouraging, you know, in different countries around the world. So Obama has a sense of humanity, which I think is a quality of great leadership, to have that notion of how we're connected to one another. And he's not a war mongrel that thinks that might makes right, even though he's had to do some warring kinds of things, you know. So anyhow, Obama, we're making him sound like he's walking on water, but he has been vetted so much that we know a lot about this man, and he put it all out there. They're just beginning to vet Mitt Romney, who's going to run against him. And so now it's like, oh, well, we can't talk about that. That happened too long ago. Did you hear that when they were picking Obama's background apart?
No.
I'm sorry, I got to wait till tomorrow to keep talking this much. Excuse me. Excuse me.
No,
It's
we
just
don't
a
have to
passion.
do.
Yeah.
We don't have to do anything.
Yeah.
But I think that it's interesting, and I'd like to get your thoughts on this. It's already been decided, as I think I mentioned in the beginning of the show, that we, meaning people of color, are going to be so upset about the stance that President Obama has taken for same-sex marriage that they're not going to vote for him. People of color, specifically African Americans. Now, I don't know who told them this. I guess they do the usual thing. You do the study, then you allow for so many points of whatever, and then you get you get to the table, and you start all of this talk about who's going to do what, when, how, and where, and why, and all of that. And we buy into that so many times, letting someone else define who we are, letting someone else get in our head and tell us how we should think and how we should react to things. And when we buy into that, that's when you don't have people register. That's when you don't have people going to the polls, because you listen to some idiot that told you something, at least investigate it. And I want to swing back to Raymond. He's having great fun with his little niece Zoe. And he's made a comment just the other day, and he's only been in town a couple of days, so we're trying to get everything out of him that we can. That she's a critical thinker. Well, she's only 7. More comment on that? Those of us who are older, shouldn't we at least ask questions? Shouldn't we at least, instead of just letting someone tell us whatever, shouldn't we use our brains to dissect some of this stuff? I mean, maybe you'll still not vote or not do what, but at least you'll have what you need in front of you to make those kind of decisions. And he sees that in Zoe already.
And the children shall lead. If I may, I'd like to get back to a comment from Dr. Clayton here. The importance of our participation and registration in the coming election. And I'd like to address the mothers and sisters and wives in the audience and point out what a strong partner Michelle Obama has been with respect to President Obama. And it's time for you ladies to put on the other hat and start pushing your men, and our young men in particular, to participate in this American process of democracy. True democracy only occurs when there is full participation.
And
that's a big comment.
Yeah, that really is, because it gives us, it really should make us take another look at self.
Let me respond, Raymond. This notion of the role of women in our community in general, I think, and Michelle's leadership in that is critical, because if it wasn't for the women, a lot of things wouldn't happen. I think Gilks is a sister who wrote a book on the Black Baptists entitled "If It Wasn't for the Women." Black women have played such a crucial role in the maintaining of our community. It's incredible. We make something out of nothing. We create the image we want of ourselves and not let the media do that for us unless we fall prey to the media. We maintain community And we also preach, and we have preached historically, education, the importance of education. I hate to say that it's the women's role, but we have played that role historically within our community. And when we back down from that role, and we just decide to sit back and I'm going to have a few kids, and I'm going to take it easy, our community starts to crumble. It starts to decay, so to speak. And so maybe it's not fair that the women play this role, but that has been our role. Yeah, and brother, for saying that, I hope the women listening are paying attention to that. Because don't let them tell you that a woman cannot raise a young boy. We've done it for years. I've seen it done in my own family with single parent homes, you know. We can do that. And so that's a real significant kind of message to our community. We can't sit back and say our community's falling apart. We have to ask ourselves what we can do within our own domains. That, you know, we don't have to sit, oh, I can't change city. You can change your family. You can change your boys. You can change your man. And if they won't want to change, they can get out. You know, but you can make some changes.
There's the solution. She threw in the solution
you
there.
Can just, no, but that's where it starts, and that's a part of motherhood, and has been a part of motherhood in our community. So that's a very astute kind of recommendation to the Waterloo community in terms of what women have to continue to do, and what our young women, because now our mothers are much younger, and somehow we've got to do mentorship with some of those young women so that they know their role as women too. Michelle's been excellent, and she's out there on the stump now, strong as ever.
Yes.
Saying that my husband is the best man for this job, and not afraid to say it because she knows that's the truth.
Yeah. You know, when we talk about women, you are so right in stating that we have been there. We have been the backbone, and what Raymond says, I certainly agree with that. You know, we'd be living in a different world if it were not for the role that women took upon themselves, whether voluntarily or whether they were forced to do it. It's a strange thing that when we talk about people in certain ways, I look back and I think of all of our foremothers who supposedly didn't know anything except what they were told. And yet still the master allowed us, we raised their children.
Yes.
They did not raise their children, we raised their children. Now, why would you trust that to people who you don't even consider as being a whole human being?
Right.
So, you know, that's another door that has not been properly closed. There's still a crack, and we still are falling through it because we've been fed all of this stuff for hundreds of years. And so communicating, again, you gotta go back to Barack Obama, whether you agree with him or not. At least he is making the effort to say, if you don't communicate, we certainly aren't going anywhere. If we do communicate, we've got a chance. But if we decide that, you know, everybody else is here, and here we are, you know, we're at the top and everybody else is somewhere in the middle or below that, we're not going to move forward. He has moved, whether people realize it or not, he has moved this country further in the time that he's been there, given all the other stuff that fell on his head. You know, he never lost sight of the fact that communicating is so important. And that's why you hear everybody, every huge plant anywhere is working on diversity. They're working on inclusion, you know, because they're coming to understand without it, we're just not going to be the great power that we have been in the past. We've got to be more respectful of other people's feelings and thoughts, and try to at least understand where they're coming from. And I think he has done that in a very wonderful way, the way that he is accepted as he has traveled around the world. The other thing that I just wanted to hit on, because I really think it's important, when we were growing up, and we're all in this age range except Raymond, we had the extended family. It was our saving grace. Do you know where our extended family is now, for the most part, 3/4, I'll bet you, in prison? Extended family was when something happened, if there was a mother and children, and the father may have passed away, he may have even left the house or for whatever. And who do you think walked in the door? Here comes Uncle Raymond.
Yeah.
Here
yeah.
comes Uncle John. Here
Yeah.
comes Cousin John. Whatever.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
filled that, and now they cannot do that because they're no longer with us in
Yeah.
any sense. They are removed
Well-
from us in every way. So we've got that whole, we've lost all of that.
Well, you know, that's one of those results of 3 strikes and you're out.
Yeah.
And all of those other
A good
policies that
combination,
have to do.
yeah.
Prison did one thing, but I think now you're gonna think I'm crazy, but I think education did another thing too.
Oh, for sure.
Because as the schools became more integrated, our kids started going further and further away. And people tend to wind up living and practicing, particularly when they do advanced degrees and they do professional degrees. They wind up living and participating in the work world where they have trained. And so that quest for this education in an integrated system has also played a minor role in dispersing our families, you know, all across. But you're right, the family unit has been crumbling based upon public policies that have been put in place that have enticed us out of our bailiwick. When Lou was talking about this vote and people telling us what to do, one of the other problems that I think that we have and we will have is if people are swayed to vote against their interests. And we've got to keep our interests in mind. I don't know too many, I haven't had any gays or lesbians knocking on my door saying I want to marry you or, you know, let me into your house. I have had people knocking on my door asking me if I have any cans that they can turn in to get some money. I've had people lamenting the fact that their kids don't have clothing to go to school. If we vote just on a single issue of gay marriage, we're going to be voting against many interests that we have, that the current budget that's being promoted by Congressman Ryan will decimate. You think the prisons have done some harm? You let that budget go through. Your school lunches will be damaged. Medicare will be damaged. The welfare system will be damaged.
That's right.
All of those things that they've told us we don't need are the very things that people living in poverty actually need. So we have the prisons, we have education, which is a step up and a step back in many instances, and we also have poverty.
Yes.
And if we vote against our interests, then we will have more poverty. We will have more people in prison because desperate people will do desperate things so that they can survive. And the education program will be limited because they're talking about cutting the kinds of grants that actually help poor people go to college. So we have those 3 things on the table. And your question about the vote, letting them tell us what we need, we can't do that anymore. We're too bright of a people to allow that to happen. So if you're at home with no food and somebody says, oh, Obama supports same-sex marriage, and you jump up and say, I can't support Obama, look at your refrigerator, okay? Look in your cupboards and see what's there. And then you'll begin to understand.
Yes. We are going to hold your next thought, especially on Providence Day, because we're not finished with that one. We're going to take a break right here. Stay with us. We'll be right back.